that superintendent would snowplow here in Garwood if he is needed. But by and large, the snow plowing is done by the 7 laborers, including the foreman.
I understand, I'm just saying, above and beyond,
Thank
you know.
Thank you.
I'll come back.
Yes. Hi, Councilman Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. Thank you very much. Welcome to Garwood. I was not invited to this. I did not get an invitation. I found out about this through the grapevine. I am biased in favor of shared services agreements. I was initially for this, and there were many people in my party who were very upset with me, people in this town, and I said no, and I said I'm going to support this. Then I was given no facts, no figures, no assurances, and I got resolutions and agreements that popped up on my email 2:24 p.m. the night it was 7 o'clock vote for this. Since then, I've been circulating a petition with people in town to oppose this. Okay, the way we've treated our superintendent is despicable. The way we're treating our townspeople is despicable. We have over 200 people against this who put their names to this. In this town, no one wants to put their name to anything. Okay, people are opposed. I went door knocking this weekend, 2-1 at least against this. This town has not been informed of this. The council has not been informed of this, and unless you're a rubber stamp, you're not gonna vote for this. So I was biased in favor of this and would love to have supported this. However, this is a gimmick. This is being pulled over on me and on the people I represent in this town. And you can laugh about it, Mayor, but it's your problem.
That's not my
You did
fault.
nothing to go, excuse me, sir, I'm not done speaking. You did not inform me, and I did not get a chance to do my due diligence. And anybody who's gonna vote in favor of this and say they did their due diligence, is lying to the public, okay? I would love to have supported this thing. This is a disaster. Why do we have to fire our DPW superintendent to share your equipment? You give us an equipment sharing agreement tomorrow, I'll vote for it. I will vote for it tomorrow, I guarantee that to you. Why do I have to fire my DPW superintendent and compromise the integrity of our DPW to share your equipment? I refuse that offer.
Question for the Mayor Family.
Do I have any more questions for the Mayor Family? Was Union County or any politicians in Union County involved in putting this deal together? Because I still can't figure out why we're going to a town 2 towns away.
Well, thank you for...
The first question first, yes or no?
No. And second, I'm sorry that you were 2 minutes late because when I had a chance to speak, I went through why I was here tonight. And part of the reason why is because I believe that families like Garwood, we are a small community, a borough form, where property taxes matter, and sharing services is something that we do. And this idea of sharing a service with Garwood, I don't necessarily agree with your thinking in the sense of that you have to be geographically bound to share the service.
Kind of helps.
No, I
don't think so?
Well, I respectfully disagree, because I think that, one, we're not that far, and two, I think going into a shared services, sometimes there's a fear which Mark sort of touched upon, Mark Pfeiffer, who's from the Blaustein School here, who did shared services for the state, that a larger community can somehow look like it's pushing out and over on a small community. I consider us equal here in this room. I don't consider us, again, we're here because we are excited at the opportunity of working with the borough of Garwood to share and provide services that could save your taxpayers money. We are willing to take this opportunity. We are willing here today to share our DPW director with you. I understand, there may be apprehension about doing this, which is why I'm sitting here tonight with my 2 councilmen, because we wanted to have a dialogue with the residents. And if I were in a position, I would want my partner to be here also to answer some questions and dispel maybe some concerns or some information that is inaccurate.
And how come, Mayor, when you put out this letter, how come we weren't told on the night of the vote that we were gonna save $200,000 because of this vote? That's kind of an important thing to know. Where did that number come from, and why was it not brought up at the night of the council meeting, Mayor?
Well,
It was brought up at the night of the council.
$200,000?
It was 70,000 in operating expenses as well as over $100,000 in capital expenses, so that's where that number came from. But if I may, Mayor, I should go into the actual proposal.
Finally, I would like to ask Councilwoman Tedesco to present the proposed shared service agreement between the Borough of
Excuse me,
Garwood.
are we done with the mayor? Can we ask questions to the mayor?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Rich Bonfanti, 342nd Avenue. You stated that Garwood and Fanwood are approximately the same size and do the same kind of work.
I said we're kind of the same size and we're mirror communities, yes,
Okay.
and we value, I think, the same thing.
You also stated that you had 10 full-time employees in the DPW.
Yeah, we have one full-time director.
Yes.
We have one administrative staff person who traditionally had always been our DPW secretary, support service. We recently brought her also into our borough hall to help kind of work in the workload in the administration. And we currently have 8 men, but we're down 1 because one resigned and we're in the process of hiring.
Okay, so that's 9. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Garwood has 7 full-time employees and one director. Garwood picks up their own garbage, where Fanwood doesn't. Garwood, in my opinion, is much more efficient than Fanwood. And so I can't see
And you base
why.
that on?
The number's right there.
What?
We got less people and do more work.
No.
Do you pick up garbage in Fanwood?
No.
We do. Our DPW does.
And that won't change.
Correct, I'm not finished. My point is, as far as efficiency goes, Garwood is a lot more efficient. And in that case, my opinion is, instead of Fred being fired, maybe Clint should be fired and Fred take his place.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just gonna say this, I don't have any personal relationship with your DPW director.
We do. We do.
I
We do.
understand that, and I'm just trying to make a statement. Thanks.
My
And
point-
I'm
my
not,
point
I know
is,
what your
we're
point
more-
is,
we're more
but I'm
efficient
not
here.
here to, get into an argument with you about if the borough of Garwood is more efficient than the borough of Fanwood. And that's too easy to get caught into, to be honest with you, so I appreciate that, but I respectfully disagree with you.
And as far as Clint plowing snow in your town, and they said that Clint was gonna plow snow in our town, you must be pretty good to do 2 towns at the same time, in the winter when it plows snow. That's all I got to say.
Okay, once again. Yes.
Isn't that a question, the statement? We, the taxpayers, I don't think any of us are complaining about paying our taxes. And you're trying to save for us, we appreciate it, but we don't have a problem with it, we like to keep things the way they are. We like having. I can see if we all came here and said, hey, listen, we're paying too much, blah, blah, can we do something? I don't think anybody's come out to complain that we're paying we are paying a lot, but we're not complaining that we want it cut. And to lose a service like that would be, bottom line is, you pull our director and you start doing these things, we're gonna be Garwood no longer.
Thank you. Basically, as we stated before, this is a committee that established that was elected. The administrative review committee was. We're looking at everything. This happens to be one of the items on our list.
But we're not looking to save the dollar, no, we're
We're
gonna
always got
save.
meetings, we hear about taxes being raised, we always hear.
Can I ask a question? If none of the Garwood residents asked for this, how did this even come about?
Came through the administrative review committee.
Well, how did you decide that that was a good idea? And if everyone here is opposed to it, and there's.
We haven't heard from everyone here. We haven't heard.
We got
Okay.
we have over 200 signatures.
Okay. One second.
I have a quick question for the mayor.
Yes.
How many shared services with other towns do you currently have?
Oh, I would say probably at least 12.
12, and they're all working really well? Then how come you're paying for garbage? How come the taxpayers are paying for garbage?
We've never had garbage in our town. It was something, just like we don't do curbside pickup, we have a recycling center. It was something that historically we've never done.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to move this on. Quick question.
Just one question.
Okay.
Bruce. Hello. Just a question. $40,000 we're going to be paying you. In your interpretation, what are we getting for that $40,000?
I think that would be answered in presentation.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
council will
Let's go to the
do
next
that
segment
with the
of the
agreement.
agenda.
Because that basically, it's outlined in the agreement, so I think I'll let her just go through it.
All right, it's just that we'll hear one side, but I'd like to hear the other side.
Yes.
Well, I would just tell you that we sit here tonight, in a general agreement of what it would be. So when when the councilman speaks about the shared services agreement, it's something that we have spoken about, so we come here tonight.
And Mayor, if you'd like to add one to finish this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mayor Lombardo, I'd like you to ask you to let the councilwoman give a statement so we can get more information on this proposal.
That's
before
my
we
next
have questions.
Thank you. Finally, I will ask Councilwoman Tedesco to present the proposed shared service agreement between the Borough of Garwood and the Borough of Fanwood. And she is both on the Administrative Review Committee and the Chairman of the Streets and Roads. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate this opportunity to speak here with everybody tonight. The concern over taxes is something that I have heard. I have heard it when I've walked the town 4 years ago, when I heard it when I've walked the town almost every year. I don't just walk when it's time for an election, I walk throughout the year and I talk to people. Taxes is probably the #1 concern that I hear in this borough. We've heard it at council meetings as well. Although I do appreciate when a resident comes to a council meeting and says, I'm fine with you raising my taxes, it's not the majority that I hear anyway. So we understand as elected officials, at least I should only speak for myself. I understand the burden of taxes in the state of New Jersey. They're generally high. It's not a Garwood problem, it's not a Union County problem, it's a New Jersey problem. It's something that we are faced with. The mayor, as he has said, established the Administrative Review Committee this year as a new mayor coming in to look at everything, to put everything on the table here in Garwood to make us really look inside and see if there's ways we can save taxpayer dollars without cutting services. Because I've heard that over and over again, that we should absolutely not cut services. And I am one to say, and I beat this drum all the time, I do believe in keeping Garwood a strong, independent borough. I absolutely do. I would not be in favor of this shared service agreement if it cut service, if it was any way, shape, or form going to lose our identity as a small borough. So, this opportunity has presented itself. We are able to keep our identity. We are able to save money and become more efficient. So, with 566 municipalities in the state of New Jersey, we feel the pressure. There's pressure to be competitive. This is an opportunity. And as the gentleman in the back mentioned bulk, I want to talk about bulk a little bit too, so you know where I'm coming from. I've been on the council 4.5 years. I was not on the council that decided to make bulk outside of your tax bill. I still hear about it all the time, okay? Not by everybody, by some people. They still talk about it. Here we are 5 years later. As I walk, I will still hear about bulk. The gentleman brought it up here tonight. We could debate all night whether or not making bulk outside the tax bill and having users pay for it separately a cut in service or not. I'm not here to debate that. I hear from people that they feel in some way, shape, or form that it was. If I felt that this shared service agreement would cut service, I would not do it. I would absolutely not do it. I would not risk that. I know what it's like in this town. I know I'll hear about it the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 probably, and then some. So again, I feel this is a great opportunity to save taxpayer dollars without losing our identity and without cutting service. So as the mayor dismissed one rumor earlier tonight, I want to dismiss some. Again, we are not looking to privatize garbage here in Garwood. Absolutely not. The same laborers will be picking up your garbage, plowing your roads, fixing your potholes, picking up leaves, and so on, all those things they do. The history of this position of Superintendent of Public Works, I think, needs to be visited by everyone. So, first of all, Garwood operated under a foreman laborer system for decades upon decades, until the 1990s when the state of New Jersey, and you were probably in the DCA at the time, right?
Could have had something to do with it.
Okay. Basically came down with a state mandate, we're used to those, right? They came down and they said, every single municipality needs to have a certified public works manager. So Garwood, being the little borough we are, we tried to basically skate around that law as best we could. We had our foreman become the acting super without the certificate. We had our borough engineer be the acting super, until eventually with the law you couldn't get out of it. And you had to appoint a certified public works manager. They chose to do that. The 2003 Mayor and Council chose to hire a full-time superintendent of public works. He now works in Fanwood. He worked with us 3 years. They made that decision. I can't go back and pretend to think of what they were thinking in 2003 and judge their situation. They made that decision. But I truly believe that that position does not need to be a full-time position. It's a supervisory position. They're allowed to work only in times of emergency, and I feel that that's a place we can save money. So basically, with that being said, this proposal is not just about this one position. It's not just administrative, so I want to go into the rest. But right now, just in keeping with administration, again, this saves us $70,000 a year in operating expenses. Okay, right now, the Department of Public Works operates with 2 to 3 layers of supervision. There's a foreman who supervises the day in, day out operations of that department of the 7 men. There is superintendent of public works full time, and there's a borough administrator that oversees it all. This would basically be taking one layer, making it a little smaller, okay, and saving that amount of money. Also, the second component, equipment sharing. We here in Garwood need a new sewer jet. That's worth $55,000. We need a new street sweeper. Used, you can get one maybe $70,000 or so. New, probably well over $150,000. So that's where you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital expenses as well. The third component to this proposal is cooperative bidding. This is one of the reasons why Fanwood is so interested in working with Garwood, because right now they do not provide their residents curbside recycling pickup like we do, although done by a private hauler. They're looking to do that. They want to bring that to their residents. We can team up, they can use our expertise, we can work together and cooperatively purchase that. There are sheets out there tonight that have on the back frequently asked questions. So just to go through some of these here. As to why Fanwood, I think the mayor of Fanwood just spoke to that very nicely, that we are like boroughs. One reason why I've always been apprehensive as a council member about shared services is I don't want us to be the little guy in the equation, because I think the little guy does get squeezed. This is much more even playing field. That's why I personally feel more comfortable with this. Again, the superintendent, the fact that he does know this town, he's not a stranger to us, makes me also feel that much more comfortable. I don't feel like there is as much risk involved as if we went with someone that was completely new. What's in it for Fanwood? We just talked about the recycling aspect. Also, $40,000 is in it for Fanwood. Okay. Can the two boroughs have an agreement without sharing equipment, without sharing administration, and simply sharing equipment? I want to speak to that because that question was asked a few times. Basically, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't make any sense for us to do that, because right now, Fanwood, quite honestly, has more equipment to offer us than we have to offer them. Therefore, if we were to do this deal, Fanwood would say, well, what's in it for us? We're sending our equipment to you. There's liability. There's wear and tear on our trucks. Now we're going to charge you for that. So now, instead of saving taxpayer dollars, we're actually raising taxes just to do that. So that was not an option on the table. Do towns already share equipment? Do we really need to have an agreement for this? Yes. On occasion, towns help each other out. Mr. Pfeiffer mentioned that. We do. However, that's sporadic and on occasion. I can ask you right now, Mayor, I'm sure. Could we borrow your sewer jet once a month, all the time?
Only when we weren't using it.
But
yes.
But basically,
But
you
yes,
would be,
yes.
you would,
yes.
for a price, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, yes.
Right. So basically, as you can see, I didn't prep her for the question, but so that is off the cuff, obviously, that they would charge us. Okay, that doesn't make sense. A shared service agreement where it's consistent, the liability issues are worked out and so forth is important. You cannot consistently share without something like that in place. That's the bottom line. And then finally, as Mark Pfeiffer pointed out, we need to make sure that we can get out of this agreement. this agreement has that. We have that get out clause. Basically, Garwood can get out of this agreement 60 days notice for a reason or no reason at all, quite honestly. And then the other item I wanted to bring in about why I'm confident that this would be successful is that we do have the proper oversight on this deal. We have a foreman, we have a borough administrator that oversee that department as well. We also have a plan for contract management, as he mentioned. We would have the superintendent and borough administrator in contact regularly. There would also be regular communication between the superintendent of public works and the council, especially via the Streets and Roads Committee. And then finally, that superintendent would be able to meet with the council at our request to keep that line of communication open, to know what's going on, and to check on the deal and how it's working out. So again, that's for all those reasons I just mentioned. I am for this, and I think it would be a good opportunity for the two boroughs to work together and save taxpayer dollars, because I do hear that a lot from the public. So thank you, Mayor.
Question?
1 second, please. That's the next phase. Thank you. Now it's time to open our session tonight to questions and comments from the audience.
You've been doing that.
Can I finish my statement, please?
But it was for Councilwoman Foster.
I'm opening up there. I would ask that you stand, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'd ask you only to speak once as the question is answered in the appropriate timing. This is not a debate. I say it's not a debate. We'll be closely adhering to the time limit of 3 minutes. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Tom Sparrow, 633 Myrtle. Question. New equipment that needs to be purchased after 2-3 years down the line of this agreement. How is that going to be purchased, and what part of it does Garwood have to pay?
Great question. I would say that if it's Fanwood's equipment, such as right now, let's take their sewer jet, for example. If that goes, that was part of the negotiating table, I believe Fanwood would pick up that purchase.
Now, wait a minute. That means you're saying that there's only certain items that we can use?
No, the agreement is broad, but when we've been at the negotiating table, a couple of the items that Garwood is very interested in are sewer jet, as well as street sweeper, and bucket truck too.
So it's limited items, really, that we're looking for.
I mean, it
Yes,
could
okay.
be more.
Second question. Second question.
Okay.
Right, and if we own
We're
it.
using that equipment. It breaks
Right.
down.
Mhm.
Who's responsible right now? It's in the middle of Westfield. It
It's our,
broke down.
it's our piece of equipment, so we would be responsible.
So there's no charges back to us.
No, it's our piece of
That's not what it
equipment.
says in the resolution.
Yeah, it's not what it says.
At a time, please.
So it blows a hose, there's oil all over the place, and we don't have to worry about it. We just walk away, and you guys will come and fix it and clean it up, and we'll take it again tomorrow.
This is the way it is. We have a mechanic
This is
that.
reality, this is what
I know,
happens.
this is,
Find
I'm
the
not,
answers.
I'm not laughing at you by any means. It is our equipment that we are lending to your town. When you need it, you will ask for it, it will come, it will be used. If something happens to it, we have a full-time mechanic that's also one of our DPW guys. We do probably 90% of the work on our equipment in-house.
Okay. You stated something about your guys paved roads, you do the actual paving?
We do, we borrow equipment from the county, and we have been known, yes, to not do full road reconstructions, but we
Okay.
can do
You
certain.
said paving roads, so
Well,
I'm
paving
thinking you're
roads, we
milling
pave.
and paving and.
Well, we have,
repairing.
we've done, no, well, we've done some milling in our we've done some milling, excuse me, we've done some milling in our parking lots, and we borrow the equipment from the county, you know, and we get the asphalt from them, you know, and we come over and we can do certain jobs, so we can do paving, we don't do road reconstruction, but we have been able to do paving, our guys can do paving.
So if you borrow county equipment, you have to pay for that?
No.
It's free.
Why don't we do
Yes,
that?
so why don't we do that? Do we? We do.
We do, yeah.
Then scratch that
As a
over.
matter of fact, we had the county, out here about 6 months ago instructing our guys how to use the crack sealing machine. And we borrowed the equipment here for 5 hours.
I think anybody can borrow the equipment.
As long as they're not, you got notifications.
Okay, last question. Charles, why are we in such a huge debt? I know it's 2% increases and all, but why are we so far behind it? We need to cut something like Fred's job.
Well, see, first of all, no offense to Fred, this has gotten very personal, okay, as far as I'm concerned. It was brought to the review committee, and we said, we're looking at everything, no matter what the situation. We started with policies for the mayor and council, then we went to other things. And we're just looking at everything that we can try to minimize taxes involved. This is one of the things we're doing right now.
So do you have like a
We have
spreadsheet or something?
We have a wish list. We don't have to sit down and say, okay, this, and this. We have a list, so we're gonna take one item at a time and look at it.
And has the resident seen this?
Was it still in committee?
No, it's still in committee.
He's
Right.
not understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, I
He's
think,
Yeah.
talking about
I
the
think there's-
committee, and you're talking about this relation, you're talking about this proposal.
I'm
He's
talking about- I'm
his
talking
list
about- about
of
everything.
things that they want to do.
Okay.
And
And it's
you
not
asked
open
the
to the
public,
public
no,
yet.
it's committee stuff, that's what
It's
he was.
within the committee.
All right.
This committee has taken other actions so
Yeah,
far
right.
this
You
year.
guys are on the same page.
Right.
Yeah, no, going back to it, how did we get in such huge debt?
Do you want Mayor?
You're gonna have to
Take
call
this?
one.
Okay, okay, as far as Garwood's debt, it has been very low in this town for many years. Mainly because we really have not done any kind of major project. The last major project we've done was in 1983, this building that we sit in right now. So, our debt is relative to other towns, right in line. We are right in the middle. Yes, I know what you're getting at with the recreation complex, but at the same point, that was a $3.2 million project, paid half in grant money, roughly. And basically, we've seen some of the lowest tax increases in recent years with that included in our debt service. So this debt issue is one that has had, I would say, debt's like I guess it's sort of a bad word, right? Of course, but at the same point, we've been getting a lot of equipment and other items through bonding at 1 to 2% interest. So it makes good business sense sometimes for a municipality to go with the option of bonding. And I think that's really all I can speak to that.
All right, then, your budget was due in, oh, my 3 minutes, last thing. Your budget's due in April, right? So your budget was all planned and ready to go, and you knew that you were gonna eliminate the position.
We don't know right this minute from the committee.
But you just said your budget was due. And they,
The budget has nothing to do with this. This is for next year's consideration or the balance of this year.
Well, you said Fred is in the budget.
We cannot,
forget it.
okay, sorry, I can address this, sir.
That's all right.
We cannot take action, we cannot change a budget before the governing body has acted. The governing body has not acted on this matter. The purpose of tonight is an information session, it has
Right,
not
Bill.
acted,
You tried
that's
to.
it.
Last meeting.
But we heard the public, and that's why we are here tonight.
Over here.
Okay.
Mr. Spiro.
So,
Hi, Sal Pirro, 55 Fourth Avenue, not a question. I just want to clarify something. Page 3 of the resolution, under scope of services, letter F, Garwood shall continue to be responsible for its own insurance, repairs, maintenance, and replacement of any damaged or unusable apparatus, vehicle, machinery, or equipment utilized in connection with public works services program performed in Garwood, including those performed by the agreement. So yes, under the resolution, if we break something here, we're going to pay for it. As for the taxes question, I just want to be able to answer this. Our taxes have gone up at a higher rate than the state average over the last 10 years. So the state average is pretty high, as you know. So taxes have gone up substantially. As a matter of fact, they've gone up higher than Cranford and Westfield over the past several years. But now I do have a question. I'm amazed that all of a sudden we're worried about saving money. In this year's budget alone, I found over $250,000 worth of wasteful spending. So I'm gonna challenge this to everyone on the council. If I could find $70,000, at first I was gonna say 30,000, because that's what we were saying this was, it's 30,000. If I could find $70,000 a year in savings, will you tear up this resolution and go back and make those savings? That's gonna be my question for members of the council, to see if you are truly honest about saving money. Because like I said, over $250,000 in excess spending that should not have been in our budget this year.
So my statement about the maintenance, the repairs,
Our borough administrator may be able to answer that question, since
I just
the
read-
agreement
I
did
just-
go back
I
and
showed
forth
you.
with
Oh,
the
I just read
insurance
it.
company.
Let's not go back and forth now.
Okay.
It's right there.
You wanna answer that at all?
I
From the
don't
insurance
have what
company?
you're reading in front of me, but as I understand it, we are responsible for our equipment. I believe that there may be more to that.
The agreement says that the equipment
When-
used
when our
under this
Let's
agreement.
let one speak at a time, please.
When our equipment goes to Samwood, Garwood equipment goes to Samwood, Garwood is responsible for it. When Samwood's equipment comes here, they're responsible for it. We will have certificates of insurances. We present to them and they present to us. This agreement went to the insurance broker for clarity on that, because that's a big issue for them. The
And
insurance broker.
it's in black and white, that whoever's using the equipment,
Okay, well,
if it's damaged.
okay,
I
you're
think
looking
you
at a
just,
proposed, you're looking at a proposed.
so this
agreement.
resolution could change again?
Sir, that's not a resolution, that's the proposed agreement. The
So-
resolution is not several pages, so I know you don't
So-
need the resolution.
So the proposal can change? I mean,
No.
So let's step back a second. This proposal, this was proposed at the last council meeting, and on 10 separate occasions, we heard council people, and then including yourself, say that we had to vote on it that night, and not one person in here, except for Mr. Corbett,
I
knew
never
about
said that, sorry.
No, it's on video, but, yes, it's on video, so.
No, I
not-
just
not- not
clarified
one-
that.
no, no.
It's not- it's
Not
about
debate,
recycling.
let's take each other's-
It's about recycling.
So, not one person in this town outside of Mr. Corbett in his close circle knew that this was going through, and you guys tried to force it through in one night. Now you're telling us that this proposal actually can change before the next meeting, and you're gonna vote on it that night without letting the people know.
Thank you.
All right, let's not get into
Thank
that.
you. Okay, anyone else?
That he changes the truth. This man changes the truth to accommodate himself.
Whoa.
That's what he said.
Thank you.
That's it.
She makes over $100 a year like that.
I was referring
Okay.
to recycling.
That's enough
You wanna save money?
from everybody.
Steve Reed, 409 Brookside Place. First off, I think this is a pretty sad commentary on our own public here, when someone can't make a directive and have some actual intelligent conversation as opposed to arguing among each other. I think this is foolish. I think it looks poorly on us as a township. Anyway, off of that. I have a question. And yeah, I'm in favor of shared service. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think duplicity in any kind of ownership of equipment or services, if you can share at an equal site, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I do have some questions. As far as the administrative folks go, the duties and responsibilities of each administrative person, are they identical right now? For the superintendent?
So superintendent and superintendent?
Yes.
Right, yes, they
They
are.
are. Do they have individual goals that they're supposed to attain during that period of time? During the year? I mean, are they set up with goals that they should strive for?
Goal setting in the formal sense like the Board of Education does?
Yes.
No.
Well, as an example, I mean, I was a plant manager, so I have an idea of what I would look to do. And what's the sick leave rate right now? What is the sick leave rate
Sick
for
leave.
any,
I
either
understand
one?
what you.
Right.
What is a goal? I mean,
I
10%,
couldn't tell you.
20%? What is the overtime rate as compared to what the sick leave rate is? Do you compare the two? I mean, obviously, if you have a lot of people out sick, you're gonna have to increase your overtime rate to cover that. What's your disability? I mean, how many people you have out because they're hurt? Does somebody go out after an accident, superintendent, does he go out and do an investigation and take a look and do a job safety analysis to take a look at why that accident happened?
That does
I
happen.
don't know. That does happen.
That
Okay.
does, and if this proposed shared service were to take effect, that would continue to happen.
I would be curious because everybody seems to say that our superintendent, and I haven't met him, so I can't tell you, is doing an amazing job. Well, hi, nice to meet you. I've been in town for 20 years. I've been retired for 6 months, and right, wrong, or different, I haven't seen you at all, so, anyway. Just to ask a further question. If they are, I would assume that it would make a lot of sense to have some kind of goal where you're actually looking at your employees. If you can't work out on the street, then administratively you should know or would want to know what your department is doing from a standpoint of administrative functions, disabilities, whatever. I mean, that's only common sense. And that's it. Thank you.
I'm John Bartlett from 231 Hemlock Avenue, and I'm having a little trouble following the story, so I have a couple of sort of fill in the blank type questions, and Mr. Piper, I'm going to bring you into this too. When did Trenton issue the mandate that we had to have a superintendent?
The original law goes back to about 1992. It was a flawed implementation. I think we fixed it around 1998 or so. Okay. And at that point, we started rolling out the fact that everybody had to have, in some way, a certified public works manager overseeing the activities.
So for almost 100 years, we didn't have that role. I'm sorry, that's not a question, that's a fact. When the legislature passed that rule, some municipalities wanted to share services, but there were some hurdles and other problems that they had to overcome. Now, you know the law very well. In 2013, there was a follow-up to take away some of those hurdles. The Governor Christie signed into law in October of 2013. What was that act called?
That was, I forget the actual name, but its purpose was to eliminate some of the barriers dealing with tenured positions and shared services.
Let me help you. If I remind you, would you tell me
Sure.
if I'm wrong? The Common Sense Shared Services Act?
And its intent was to deal with the problems where you had tenured officials in local government and a governing body wanted to share, and it eliminated the tenure protection that an individual whose jobs would be replaced was covered.
Okay. So I come from the Fortune 500. I have worked in roles where middle management, administrative positions have been eliminated all the time by highly profitable companies. I got my butt kicked out the door by a Fortune 100 company to save a few bucks. So I do resent my taxes. I resent paying to go to the doctor. I resent paying at the pump. I resent every dollar I spend. But sometimes we have to do it. And $70,000 is $70,000. And with absolutely no disrespect intended to the incumbent in the position, this is not about an individual. This is about a role. And it's one of the things that I learned when I lost my job. And for the 50 or so people that I've had to fire for the same reason, with nothing to do with performance, that sit in my gut my whole life, it's just part of the deal. So I have I just want to express my support in principle for this specific case, and I want to also make another offer. In addition to this $70,000, if this gentleman finds another $250,000, will you please save us that too? Because this is not a world of this or that. This is a world of and. And I want to try to save and have an efficient government. And quite frankly, and I'm sorry again, because this is going to sound like an assault on a person, and it's really not that at all. But with 7 workers, I don't think we need 2 full-time supervisors. That's a parity. People make fun of street departments all the time for the 5 people watching the 1 guy doing the work. Okay? So I'm sorry and I have many friends on both sides of this issue. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think this is simply a business matter, and we have to approach it like this. And unfortunately, as was said before, personal decisions involved with this, and that is a shame. I really do wish we could distance ourselves from that. But quite frankly, thank you for filling in the blanks on that.
My name is Paul Nieves, I live at 263 4th Avenue. I just wanted to basically say up front that I'm in favor of this deal. And unlike my colleague friend that's in favor of the deal, I respectfully disagree with how we've been behaving and how that's an embarrassment to our community. I think the fact that we instituted this discussion is healthy. It's good for our community. I'm very proud to be a Garwoodian and hear this vigorous and forceful debate about something that we all feel really strongly about. So I want to commend the mayor and Councilwoman Tedesco in organizing this. My question is this: the concerns that Mr. Pirulli and Councilman Matthew raised today, are those things that the mayor, Mr. Mayor, and Councilwoman Tedesco, are those things that are going to be still considered and factored into this deal, or what's been read, is that a done deal that's subject to non-modification?
Which specific concern were you?
Well, like for example, Mr. Pirulli read
about the liability?
Yeah.
That will absolutely be investigated. The borough administrator obviously had a different read of that, so we will definitely make sure that's ironed out so that it makes sense for both parties here. Obviously, neither borough would want to be responsible all the time for that liability burden. It should be equally shared. Equipment's going to go both ways, and we want this to work for both parties, so absolutely.
And also, too, as I said before, I'll try to speak louder. There is a third person that's not here from our committee. She has some personal issues to see and take care of. We'll bring back all the information that we hear today. We're going to, in the very near future, to discuss it.
And tomorrow is a continuation of.
That's correct. Yes, Mr. Allen.
Back 233 4th Avenue. This is a question to the mayor family. Obviously, you've seen what's gone on, the opinions of the people here on all sides of it. Have you sat down with the people, family, and asked them what they thought about it? How do they feel about it?
How do they feel about sharing your service with Garwood?
Yeah.
We have not discussed it.
In a public meeting.
And we have discussed it in a public meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and what was the general?
There really wasn't any comment, to be honest with you. We discussed it
Entire
in the
town.
council meeting.
Yeah,
Well, we go live on Comcast, and believe me, if people have, just like in Garwood, if people have something on their minds, and if they hear something they don't like, they are not, shy about coming to any of our meetings.
I'm just saying, you see what's going on here. I was wondering if their acceptance of sharing their mechanic and their machines was one that they would generally enjoy.
I would tell you that it's been reported on in our local paper. It has been discussed in our council meeting.
Yeah, I saw the paper.
Televised, and I, as the mayor, have not received any negative comment whatsoever.
Okay. This is just.
And if I may,
Ask me a question.
as of my letter, I received only 5 comments back, 1 negative, 1 didn't care, 2 were in favor. That's the borough of Garwood. We deliver these flyers to everybody in the borough.
Okay. Why can't Fanwood join our DPW? We're gonna share the equipment anyway, so it doesn't matter, and he just said we're both gonna pay our own repairs. He's doing an awesome job. And that gentleman happened to leave Garwood, I don't know why or what he did, but if this gentleman's doing a great job, and everybody says it about our town.
Well, I could say this, the gentleman that left Garwood for Fanwood, it was nothing negative between Garwood and that person, so.
Okay, I'm just saying, if he's doing a great job, and he does, and everybody comments. I mean, I worked in Cranford's Business Park, which was disgusting, driving in the snow. Our streets you could eat off of, they're so great, and other towns tell us that. Maybe you don't think your block is great, but I think our town, my block is great.
I believe the entire DPW does a great job.
And everybody
Garwood.
says
I absolutely do. And if I thought for 1 second that this would cut a service, again, I
Well,
would not
you
be in
get
favor of it.
40,000 from them.
Well,
Why not? We're gonna give you 40, you give him 40.
Well, the way that this was approached was that the borough of Garwood was interested in doing a part-time position, and we have the credentials. I mean, that's where this came from.
You know what's sad? We're a small town and we're just breaking apart. And I've spoken to several younger people, meaning in their 20s, 30s, that own homes here, and they told me they don't even know if they wanna stay. If we're gonna, our kids never went to high school in this town, you know. Our health department's in Cranford, I mean, like, are we gonna do this to our policemen too?
Right, well,
But on the other side of that coin, you have people moving into Garwood every week. They're putting bids on
Renting.
their homes. So they said people want to bid.
And when they find out that we keep breaking apart, do you wanna live in a town that, I mean, I like this town, it's our little town. It was a great place to bring up your raise your children.
I do too. If I may, I can personally speak to this. I don't look at this as selling out. I don't look at this as losing our identity. I don't look at this as a breaking away. I look at this as a way to save taxpayer dollars and keep our identity and
Do you
keep
look at
providing
that
the service.
complex?
And I do not, but I don't believe in merging police. I don't believe in merging our entire staffs. I don't believe in that. Don't believe in privatizing garbage. I went to Johnson High School, so I understand what that feels like to not go to your own county school. But I'll tell you, I still had a great experience, so I'm very happy.
I'm not saying it
with
was
what
a
we-
bad thing, I'm just
Right,
saying, we
understood.
don't
Where
have a
does
high
it
school,
stop?
it's a small
And
town.
I think you ask a very valid question of where does it stop, and I can tell you right now that I value keeping the service level high in Garwood. I value keeping our own police, keeping our own DPW, and so forth. We've investigated, I personally was on the committee that investigated possibly merging dispatch. We looked at the county as an option, we looked at other towns as options, and that didn't make sense for Garwood, in my opinion, when it all came through. So I'm the type of person, I'm not looking for just the first opportunity that comes, I'm gonna take it. This is something that has presented itself, and I feel overall it is a good deal for the borough of Garwood, and we don't have to lose our identity in doing it, so that's all I want to say. But thank you. I think it's a very fair question.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes, through you, I'd like to talk to Councilman Ms. Buell. You're the DPW liaison.
Yes. We know where you live, Bruce.
Oh, Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue.
I thought you lived in Family.
I do live in Family.
I know you
Dual
do.
citizenship.
Dual citizenship.
I have a
She
homeowner.
knows, where do you vote?
It's like a win-win situation, I vote here.
So you've been pushing for this all along.
It's a win-win, no matter, because I'm on both sides. But, question, your DPW, what are their feelings about it internally? What does Clint say, or does it make a difference? I mean, they're gonna do what it's telling them.
Well, Clint is prepared to do it. He's excited about helping. We talked to him about it. I don't really want to comment specifically on any one person, but yeah.
And the equipment, I mean, you're not sharing the same equipment that we may be sharing. You're not sharing with anybody else. I guess that's what Mayor Barr was saying.
I'm trying to think now. I'm really going through the inventory of equipment and saying that.
All right, and the DPW doesn't mind, obviously, sharing that.
No, it comes down to a question of schedules. It comes down to like, is the piece of equipment in use, or is there another week available to be used?
I honestly kind of look at this just from a very basic thing, is that it's, I sometimes use my neighbor's grill. This is neighbors sharing equipment. This is kind of, we're just trying to formalize it, and we have to make sure the insurance is right, the liability is right. But we share each other's stuff all the time as neighbors. Just, why can't governments do this? And if it makes sense for all of us to do it, why do we have two sewer jets? Why can't we just have one? Why do we have to have the same amount of management? We can share management. It's really the workers that do the main part, and that's what we, in Fanwood residents, I feel like I'm at a Fanwood meeting, to tell you the truth, because they were saying the same thing that you're saying. We love this about our guys, that about our guys, and we hear that at all our meetings of how much we love this, and that. And that's why, as councilman in Fanwood, we're also looking at how can we, and we know when you do the math, 20% of your tax bill is municipal government. Okay, so then, okay, that's small when you get there. But then you go, okay, when you just look at one little service of it to save it, then you start multiplying, you divide it by 12, out of 12 months, you save what you're gonna save. It always ends up being small, but because you're only looking at one thing. But all these things snowball over the years. And then if your growth pattern, if you get it down a little bit, then the growth is less. And then 12 years later, that's a lot of money you save. So if you look at it in 1 year in one thing, if you ever saw how much coffee you paid for in 1 year and they gave you the bill at the end of the year instead of paying it, you'd be against that coffee bill. It would be awful, but you're only paying for it every day, so it seems so small. So this is kind of really what we're looking at here. It's really how we could work as neighbors, and it's really what we should be doing, I would always think. It's really the nice thing that we should do as neighbors in Union County. We're similar size. We don't have one big town forcing it on the other. And this is why it feels actually, to me, it feels this is a really good thing for us to do, to share with Garwood, because we're so similar, and how we can work it out. We can work out the details of it, and we can show how small towns can work together and work. In fact, most small towns are more efficient than every big town put together. We are more efficient because our tax bills are so high, because we don't have the ratables like the big towns do. So we're always looking to pinch every single dollar. So this is really why, to me, this is so important to really look at it in earnest and say, is this something that we really want to do? Because I think every dollar is important because it snowballs, it goes. If you look at it as one little thing, then you would never do anything. But I think it is important to look at each one and try to do it. And it's important to look at every single thing because we're elected to try to save money and give you better service.
Okay, but just getting back to what I was saying though, are you getting any pushback or resistance from the DPW since their machines are going to be out? We may be using it for a couple of days.
We've had, we've spoken with Clint, and we need a willing DPW director, so we are not forcing this on him. Which, again, that's not what this is about. We're not trying to force something. We think that this is an organic sort of situation. We've had, very brief conversations with the staff because it's not necessarily a done deal, but we didn't want them to read about it in the papers, either. And we've got really no negative response.
I just want the department to be happy if this happens.
We're not looking to create animosity or problems, you know what I mean? And I think if we saw that there was going to be, we would be hesitant, but we feel very confident, which is why we came here tonight.
Thank you.
Betty Maloney, 455 Pine Avenue. I just have a few questions. I heard throughout tonight and also the last council meeting that we're small, just like Fanwood was saying. I heard that Fanwood has more staff than we do. And so I guess my question is, if we're the same, why are we only getting 10 hours and Fanwood gets 30 if we're the same size? And if we're doing this as a decision to save money, wouldn't it be better to save money with the right person? A decision seems to have been made that one person is the better candidate, but from Garwood's standards, a lot of us feel that the job done here in Garwood is so excellent with understaffing, basically, where Fanwood is overstaffing, and I didn't hear a whole lot of, and I don't know, is Fanwood a really great DPW? All I know is Garwood is. So we should be making decisions based on the right people for the right job, and we should be making, if it's shared for a small town versus a small town, it should be 20-20. I do have a hard time, as a manager, I oversaw a lot of people, and when you don't have on-site, here a person's coming, either person is gonna travel to the next town, and although it's close, it's not close. It takes you 10 or 15 minutes at least, especially in traffic, to get back and forth. So we're saying the administrator's gonna oversee it, but she's here and he's whoever that supervisor is. I don't feel real comfortable. Is that travel time? Does it come here for maybe 8 hours a week eventually? I know it's 15 to begin with, but in 6 months it's 10. So I guess my question is, do we really think this through business-wise to make sure we have the right candidate to do this? And why can't it be a really shared thing? Why do we get so much less than family? It's a great deal for family as far as I can see.
Well, basically, as you mentioned, supervision, there is a working foreman down at the shop, basically. Basically, there is the superintendent, and a part of the staff is a working foreman. He would be taking daily work of the day from the superintendent, so. And that there is somebody, there is, of course, as you said, the administrator is here, if need be, but he would be the mainstay in the department, taking direction from the superintendent.
I'll add to that. You mentioned that it was said that we're the same size. I would say that that's not exact, obviously. We're generally the same size. We're both small boroughs. We're, you know, Garwood and Fanwood are a lot closer than Garwood and Cranford, or Garwood and Westfield. So they do have a slightly larger population, they have a slightly larger size. So for them to have 9 laborers or 9 people at their DPW versus our 7 people at the DPW, it's still close, it's still in the ballpark. They don't have 20 and we have 7. So it's generally, I would say that term that we're the same size is a general statement. Also too, you speak about the travel time. I feel that if an emergency were to happen here in Garwood, number 1 would be our first responders going there, the police. So that travel time would be like this. In other instances, if the superintendent needs to be there, he can travel from Fanwood to Garwood. There won't be any major difference because of that travel time. And also too, in terms of the who's going where, again, I want to stay away from the personal, but I have to say I do feel more confident going with Fanwood than another town because the person at play knows Garwood. So I do want to put that out there. And that's all I have to add. Thank you.
You know who knows Garwood.
Mr. Simons, 580 Willow Avenue, first floor. Oh, okay. I'll speak up. That's fine. I know, right? There's something to be said for being a great leader in a small town. Everyone knows your name, and everyone knows the great job you do. It matters more as opposed to being let go from a bigger company or something along those lines. I mean, I was actually dropped from a big bank myself, and it's a terrible feeling. But when you're in a small town and a small group, everyone's really going to know your name. Everyone's going to know exactly the good work you do. And you look at the DPW in this town, I mean, a lot of people will tell you they're the best in the county. That being said, I always want to say, why wouldn't he have the job? Why wouldn't Clint be given the same thing he's getting now? Why couldn't the girls read the cards? You know, that's my question. What was the reason behind it? Was there, like you said, interviews or something? Was it discussed, like, as to why Clint would be a better choice for something along these lines, as opposed to him? Is it because, I mean, I want to hear what you have to say about that. Why Clint?
I guess why not the other way around? Why is it your super coming here? I think
She said Garwood approached you, that's why.
Yeah, and because Garwood was looking at going into a part-time position and you needed the town to do part-time, you have to have the credentials still, as the state imposed 12 years ago, where I guess the position was a part-time position 13 years ago, and then 12 years ago, because the state mandates needed recycling and the DPW. So that's how this was born, you know, out of the conversation here at the governing body. And when they thought about it, and that's what you do when you think about a shared service, you think about who you want to partner with and what makes sense. And so family came to mind because of the reasons that we kind of stated here.
I understand. And one of the things I've heard all the similarities about being a small town and very similar as such. But the one thing that hasn't been brought up is the disparity in income between the households in Garwood and Fanwood. And very much so, they're very different. Fanwood averages close to $122,000 per median household income, whereas we're around $75,000. We're more blue collar, whereas maybe you would say maybe Fanwood would be more white collar. That being said, what I'm saying is and this goes back to the 2010 census and the American Community Survey. That being said, I mean, I don't want to feel that we're being maybe bullied in that. Not to say you're a bully. No, don't think it that way. But that you would have the upper hand in any negotiation in terms of something along those lines.
I need to be really clear here, to be honest with you. Because the question was asked before, if there's like some political motive here, or, you know, I don't care how much you make everybody wants basically the same thing. They want to feel safe in their neighborhoods, they want clean streets, they want the potholes repaired, they want the garbage picked up, they want to know the guys driving around they're in the trucks, in their towns, to stop and say hello, they like that. So when I say we're similar, we have those same values. So when you do a shared service, you look, as Mark said, for people who have the same values. You know, so I think, you know, I have to be very clear here. There is no bullying, there is no, because we're 2,000 people higher than you in population, we're coming in here and telling you what to do. That could not be further from the truth. We came here tonight where we could be anywhere else. You know, I have 3 boys who have baseball, and I'm here missing 2 of their games because we believe this is an important discussion to be had, and that if I was sitting in Fanwood and wanted to approach another community to do something that I believed in as strongly as they did, I would hope that the mayor and the governing body of that agency would come here and stand here and do what I'm doing, which is really answering questions to make sure that everybody understands the transparency. And there's no ulterior motive here, none.
And Mark, has this agreement as such, where you had it on DPW, had over the course of maybe 2 towns, if not more, has that happened in the state?
I can't tell you specifically, but it strikes me that yes, we saw those agreements come through, particularly where you have a smaller department and you didn't have the form. And exactly what happened in Garwood is when the law went into effect, we had a lot of small towns that had foremen who weren't qualified or didn't want to get their CPWM. Towns would use their engineer. They would pay for the foreman to go through the program, which the foreman may not have wanted to do, so they had to go figure out some other plan, and shared services became an option. I can't tell you how many there may have been or who has that.
Okay, so I mean, I was looking at the League of Municipalities, and they had sample agreements on there, and obviously I didn't see anything that stuck out, but that's not every agreement, so that's why I missed it. And I mean, when I looked at like a shared service, I mean, we pick up our own garbage. I mean, hasn't even thought about that maybe we would go into a shared service agreement in terms of sharing garbage, maybe our guys pick up trash there or something along those lines. Obviously, that's just a very basic premise, but could something be elaborated as such?
We talked earlier about looking at recycling.
I know that.
Right.
I was just wondering.
So that's similar.
Creates a bigger staff.
Well, I know that. I mean, that's obviously the greater details.
Right.
I'm trying to find ways that maybe we can get paid more income for something we do so well. That's all.
Fair thought. But we will be keeping garbage done by our DPW here in Garwood, which is very important to highlight.
Okay, I have a question, Judy Starr, 633 Myrtle Avenue, and I wondered if, this has only to do with equipment, not men, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, does Clint have the expertise to take care of our athletic center now? Since it is a turf field, will he be able to oversee our DPW workers to make sure that it's taken care of properly, that he knows how to take care of a turf field? And I know the baseball league takes care of the baseball team, but who's gonna take care of the turf field now?
Well, who physically takes care of it now? I mean, who's physically?
DPW.
No, I mean, but who's physically doing the?
I don't know.
So it's your men that are physically doing the work now?
But have they been trained on how to take care of a turf field? And if not, does Clint work on a turf field that you would know how to take care of it? I mean, there is certain way you have to take care of a turf field.
Right, absolutely.
How old is the field?
Brand new, since December it opened.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm assuming that your field is being maintained for the last 6 months.
They can answer that. Is the turf field being taken care of?
We do have a groomer. Actually, I don't. The groomer is something that I'm sorry?
Is that an outside person?
Is that an outside person? It's a machine, I'm sorry. It's the machinery. The baseball league has said that they will be happy to groom it when that time comes. I know the chairman of the Recreation Commission would personally go out there himself. That's the type of situation that is.
But basically, does Clint take care of a turf field?
We don't have a turf field in Fanwood.
Oh, you don't? I thought we just had a new part that doesn't have a turf field.
No.
Did the shared services discuss?
No, it's actually it's grass, but I'm assuming.
With fairness, I mean, we haven't had a turf field in Garwood ever until recently, so.
Right, I mean, I'm just
It's a
wondering.
similar situation.
And with the equipment, I assume that we can always bring in the manufacturer, do some light training.
You do, so you have to pay for that, right?
Well, we're not there yet, because it's still new.
Right.
But when it comes to the warranty, for you take
Take care of it, I mean, you have to take someone.
You have to have machines, that's machines.
But someone has to drive.
Yeah, they,
Oh, okay, so they have to train.
I don't think.
Okay.
We can get it trained.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilman Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. I don't want to dominate this. It's the only chance I get to ask questions. This is the most information I've gotten, actually, on this. Even though I was asked to vote for it about a week ago. Councilwoman Tedisco and Mayor Lombardo, would you both admit that it was a mistake to bring this forward at the last meeting? No, you thought we should have voted on it
No,
last meeting?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. This was the best alternative that we
Right.
And can I get a commitment from the both of you that this will not be on the next meeting's agenda? I think we need to go ahead and have a townwide conversation, and just from going door to door.
Right now, sir.
Excuse me, let me finish saying what I'm saying.
Okay.
And in going door to door, Mayor and Councilwoman Tedisco, you have to try to undo a tremendous amount of damage that you have done. People in this town are naturally cynical, and they right away, people said, why are they rushing this through? Why are they cramming this down our throat? And why are they having info sessions now when you were supposed to vote on it a week ago? So can I have a commitment from the both of you that this will not be rushed in over the summer?
I want to address your concerns.
Go ahead.
I can, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I did not support it going on the last agenda in the way it did. It did, okay, that's the bottom line. But Mr. Pirulli was at the last council meeting and he asked the council to take 3 weeks. He said that he and whoever else would educate the public as they saw fit, and that it was also an opportunity for the council, if we so chose, to educate the public as well. And I think it was a good idea that we said, okay. And basically, we've done that. I know there's a petition out there by those that oppose it. And I also know, and I also know that the mayor has sent a letter to every home. I personally walked the mayor's letter on a lot of the streets, and anyone that was outside that I spoke to, I would say the vast majority, 90% of the people said, please do this. Please save us the money, okay? But of course, it all depends on the kind of conversation you're having. But I do think it's very positive that the mayor has sent a letter to all the homes in the town and that we are having these information sessions. This is something, and you know this because you've been on the council longer than me, we've never had anything like this in the past 4.5 years. I think this is a great start of something, I really do. So maybe it came about in a way that is not ideal, but you know what, it's here, and I think this is the right thing to do. And as the mayor said, it will go back to the committee. I think personally with this issue, one way or the other, I think it deserves a vote up or down. I think we need to. When? Even at the next meeting. I'm willing to. You know why? Because there's somebody, basically there's somebody waiting to see what's going to happen one way or another. I don't think it's the right thing to do to say, okay, let's maybe drag this out another 6 months and give time for even more public input. I think sending a letter to the whole town, having those of you that came out tonight, which we appreciate, here is good. I think having people tomorrow night is great. The last council meeting, people came about this issue. It's been in the paper. And the next meeting, we shall see.
You know,
It depends on the committee.
Say, all due respect
That's
to
the
the
procedure.
councilman from Fanwood, it's not like borrowing your neighbor's grill. I'm an attorney. You write agreements for the bad situations. When the mayors don't know each other, when the mayors don't like each other, when the mayors are of different political parties, when somebody 5 years from now says, who's Sarah Disco and Charles Lombardo, I'm not sharing anything with Fanwood. Okay? What Mr. Pierulli read, in attorneys, we call that an agreement to agree. Okay, basically it says, we'll agree when everything's nice, that we'll agree to something. There's nothing in there. When we have a snow emergency here, people are gonna be screaming at you, Mayor, and screaming at me from Garwood, and that's who we're accountable to. They don't wanna be hearing, oh, these guys are going to Fanwood. And the guys in Fanwood are not gonna wanna come over here because you're gonna be getting screamed at by your businesses.
Excuse me, sir, but there are no guys.
So we're not sharing people?
All right, Mayor.
You're sharing a DPW.
We're sharing a DP, so we're not sharing people.
You know that.
And no employees are coming back and forth?
No.
That's not what I was told. That's different.
Not
what I was told.
I don't know when you'd be told
At
otherwise.
the last council meeting.
No.
I think just to be perfectly clear here, I mean, there was never a discussion to talk about employees. We are talking about one person that would fill a role as your superintendent, if you call it, and we call it director by us. That is the only thing that is on the table. We are not sharing men. We are not bringing Fanwood guys to Garwood and Garwood to, I mean, that's never been a discussion.
That's a simple question. If we're gonna get Fanwood equipment here, how does it get here?
They would drive it and then someone would follow them.
So
and
that
they
somebody
would
from the
drop
Fanwood,
it.
so Fanwood would come here and drop it off, and then someone would take them back?
How do you get any?
It's a question I'm asking, Mayor. That's not spec'd out in the agreement. Do we
Okay,
go
so-
pick it up?
Okay, so we'll talk about how equipment travels.
Well, these are a lot of things, that's what I'm saying, there are a lot of things, and later on down the road, somebody's looking at this saying, hey, you want something, you come pick it up. Well, that's not the way they did it when Lombardo and Colleen were in here, okay? So you gotta go ahead and you gotta think about this a little differently. You gotta plan for the future when people aren't getting it. That's what it is, and that agreement is an agreement to agree. No one knows what's in that agreement. It's not like borrowing your neighbor's grill.
Rich Bonfante again. You said that you had borrowed equipment from the county in the past?
Yeah.
At no
Yes.
cost?
That's correct.
Yeah, and, yeah.
Has the mayor and council looked into that? Borrowing the equipment we need from the county at no cost, rather than paying for it?
Well, I think the fundamental difference is that when you borrow something from the county, you borrow it for like a specific job, you know, at a specific time,
As I
no,
mentioned,
no repetition really, you know, and where we're talking about a sewer jet, which you could use in place of having to buy one.
But you don't use the sewer jet every day of the week.
What?
You don't use it every day of the week.
No.
So there's a case where.
No, but I mean, but we use it because our guys take care of our sewers,
Right.
you know, and, you know, and the idea was we were told that Garwood was interested in purchasing one, and again, as elected leaders, you say, well, if I got a relatively new one and we're looking to
Ours is
share.
in disrepair.
My point is, the equipment that they're looking to borrow,
Yes,
okay, is something that's not borrowed every day of the week. It's only borrowed, the bucket truck when they need it.
Right.
The sewer jet when they need it.
our equipment, yes.
Right,
the county.
so if you borrow that from the county, when you need it, I mean, we're paying county taxes, that's our equipment, really. So why can't we make this
It is,
agreement
but-
with the county?
Because you're borrowing,
We're not borrowing people,
That's exactly what.
we're borrowing equipment.
We borrow a lot from the county, even as far as last Friday when we had the major sewer problem. We had camera guys come out, we had people from Cranford, just on a spot situation. They came in, used the sewer jet, we cambered the line, our contractor came in, fixed the problem, and put the plates over it, it was done, just in and out.
Okay, did it cost us any money other than the contractor, did it cost us any money to borrow that equipment? So why don't we
County
just
uses
do that
equipment,
now?
They use it all the time.
But they're the
As a
primary
county-
owners of that, and they will give it out when it suits their purposes, when they're not using it, and there's other people that are in line for certain pieces of equipment. You know, so.
That's fine.
Well, again, that was a decision that your governing body made, you know, and discussed with us.
Okay, well, my question is really to Garwood.
Sure.
Is, did you look into the county to make the shared services agreement other than the personnel part?
They
The
don't have-
equipment themselves?
No, we haven't, but they don't have.
Why not?
They don't have any kind of agreement like that in any community that I know of.
Well, maybe they should start. That's something that should be brought up to the county leaders.
Personally, I'd rather rely on a town that the equipment is only used in that town and our town, rather than the county who has to help 21 municipalities. So where do we fall into that equation? I feel more comfortable being in a partnership with someone also just serving one entity, one other municipality, than a county that's responsible to 21.
It's 173 miles an hour.
Okay, so, all right.
If we may just one and
Well, I
two
guess-
more, let the young lady go first, and give me a second.
Bobby Green, 409 Brookside Place. I want to thank the mayor and council for exploring this shared services idea. I apologize to the superintendent for DPW because I don't like to see anybody lose their job. But in some situations, you have to take the individual out of the equation. You have to look at the bigger picture. And say that you have a full-time superintendent and a full-time foreman for 7 people, that's very heavy on the administrative end. So we have to look for ways to save money, and this is a great idea going forward. And we're still gonna have the same DPW workers to do the job that they're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so we're together, just 1 or 2 more questions, and this is 8:45. Like tomorrow, soon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, one last question for the gentleman. Okay, so the gentleman is back.
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, so one of the major concerns, even, going larger than this issue, is the lack of communication that I feel personally from the council with issues concerning the town, concerning my tax dollars. There should be a much better system. You have to give people an incentive to come here. Like, I have 3 kids as well, and right now is, it was past bedtime already, and I work a half a day, 12 hours, So, I mean, for me to come to these things on a regular basis to find out what's going on, these things could be very easily, you walked around and I saw you, you walked around and you were starting to put letters, and you didn't talk to me, but you started to put letters in people's mailbox. What about a letter that says, sign up for your, put your email on this list, and everyone can, everyone who's on the list can get a synopsis of what goes on at Garwood's council meeting. That's one thing that I brought up to this gentleman before he was a council member. Remember that? And you said you were going to do something about it, and nothing's been done. Okay, and so that's one of the major things. Okay, I'm 34, and I don't want to come here, honestly, because I keep on hearing you say that I feel, and my problem is that I want to know what it is that the people feel that you're representing. And I want to see on this whole issue, rather than everyone vote up here, I think that there should be a vote of each ward. And then the council people can vote based on what their ward votes overall. And everyone should see those numbers. Because then, I think people are hurt, I'm hurt, because you're not really heard, and you really don't think there's a difference. So then you don't vote, and then things just go. And I talked to a few people, and I'm not a political person. I've talked to a few people just walking around town. Oh, well, they're going to do what they are anyway. We should get rid of all of them. So what if all of you were gotten rid of?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Certainly possible.
So that's the thing. I mean, it's just like, hello, in a marriage, there's a divorce if there's no communication. And so the same thing at the town level and everything is we're going to have you keep shaking your head, you know what I mean? But,
sir, we're up here, please.
okay. So the thing is that shame on anybody, okay, for rolling their eyes and shaking their head. And I think anyone who's here with a little bit of fire and passion talking about whatever's important to them should definitely be listened to, and you should be like elbows on the table listening to what people have to say.
Exactly.
And I don't really feel that everyone has had a chance to discuss this matter, and everyone even knows about this matter. I didn't know about this park, okay, that went on. I didn't know about it, and I've been living here since 2005. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, this is one of those issues. And you keep saying, oh, it snowballs, the little things, little drops in a bucket, we all know the financial talk, The thing is that you have to think about also the lack of management, okay? Boots to the pavement, blue collar guys are, tight packed, just like cops, So you start having these people that come in, Fortune 100, 500, all this, oh, it's just par for the course. Well, those people don't really make a lot of money. They don't, they don't lose their jobs. Yeah, they don't lose their jobs, and it's like, oh, whatever, So now, so what I'm saying is, just let me talk.
Sir, I will ask you, please sum it up.
We ain't saying nothing.
All right.
He's saying that people should have a say in what's
So
going on.
what I'm saying is, little drops in the bucket, everyone's saying, oh, we're gonna save. What happens if people aren't managed as tight, overtime starts to go out of control, there's extra materials used, it's kinda, it could go the opposite way as well. And that's what has to be considered.
But also too, I'll advise you, I'm not technically inclined, but we are on YouTube. We really have this. And I believe we're gonna be on also again, but we normally have our council meetings taped and put on YouTube. That's the first thing. Second of all, you're absolutely right. We are elected to be gone in our next term. But we try to do the best we could for the people we represent.
If I could just add to that, I think you're absolutely right. I think communicating with the public is something that we always will need to strive to do better on. It's something I've seen, when I first got on the council, there was no more borough newsletter. The website was not what it is today, we'll say, but we've worked on those things. We've improved the website, we've brought back the Garwood newsletter. As the mayor said, we're now on YouTube with our council meetings. Right now, I think what we're doing is a great thing. The mayor sending the letter was the right thing to do. Having these information sessions, I think, is a good idea. Also, too, we are available by phone, email, and so forth. As the mayor said, he sent that letter to all the homes in town, and 5 people responded to him. We want to hear more from the public, but the public has to give us that, too. And then the final, 2 points I have. One is, as the mayor has said, accountability for elected officials is at the polls. I'm putting myself out there saying I support this. So if, in fact, it goes through, it doesn't work out, whatever it may be, I know that I'll be held accountable for that. But in my heart, I don't believe I was elected just to worry about my next election. It's to actually do things to improve Garwood, to make it more efficient, to make it better. And if that means that I don't win an election in 3 years, well, at least I'll know that I did the best I could and I actually gave it a try. It's very easy to keep status quo. It is easy to be a council person that comes in, shakes some hands, hi, I'm Councilman so-and-so, whatever, but that's not what I'm here to do. So I am willing to give this a try to save some money. And then my final point that you mentioned about how things can get out of hand, overtime and so forth, I think that's a great point, and that's why I think what I mentioned before is really important, contract management. I'm Streets and Roads Chair. I will be, in communication, my committee will be in communication with that department head. Our borough administrator will be responsible to that. So we know that, especially with the shared service deal, contract management is very, very important, as Mr. Pfeiffer has mentioned, in order to make sure it works. So, and if it doesn't work, and then we get held accountable at the polls for sure.
That's usually the job of the public works director, is to also, to also manage that.
Yeah. If you want, we can answer it after,
Well,
or?
it's actually, Mr. Hugo can answer the question. You mentioned that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay with this. I'm just curious, does you feel, or does your council feel it's underutilized to a significant degree of 25%, or is there going to be more compensation, so you're going to have to work overtime?
Like a motion, we adjourn.
But do you feel he's underutilized to the
I
point
think there's
where?
more opportunity in the sharing aspect and the sharing equipment, and that's the upside to us. And we're willing to try.
Okay, what I'm gonna do now is close the meeting. We have another meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, same time. Councilman Jessica and myself will be here, and we'll have other speakers to make the presentations. Thank you for coming.